Well, good afternoon and welcome to our February 23rd community update. First, let's talk about vaccines, the COVID vaccine and their availability right here in Akron. Right now, anyone who's older than 65 or 65 and older is able to get a vaccine. Other groups such as EMS workers, teachers, and those with qualifying medical conditions are also eligible. The state announced just yesterday that the next group who will be eligible are those 60 and older, and 55 and older will be several weeks before that happens. So they continue to use the age group. And obviously supply is still an issue, but hopefully we've seen some announcements lately about the increase in that supply. So we'll continue to work with the governor's office and we're in constant communication with him and still trying to figure out the best ways to make sure that we have anybody that wants a vaccine is able to get it. But it's important that we still remain vigilant with our mask wearing in public, social distancing and hand washing. Even though the number of cases have come down and the number of people that are going into the hospital have come down, those are some good numbers. I think those are the things that we've been looking for. And the way to defeat this virus, obviously, is to move forward with as much vaccine distribution as we can. We'll continue to publish the latest updates from Governor DeWine's office regarding vaccine eligibility and the availability on our social media channels. But you can also go to coronavirus.ohio.gov. And I'll say that one more time, it's coronavirus.ohio.gov to find out more information regarding vaccines in your area and where you can get a shot and when you become eligible. So I personally think this vaccine distribution has gone okay for our state. We continue to work with supply issues, but getting as many vaccines out is obviously going to be the key to returning to some sort of normalcy, if you want to use that word, where we can start to gather again. And there are a lot of predictions about how this may happen, and we'll continue to follow those best social or those medical guidelines from public health about how we can do that again. But it's still about mask wearing, it's still about washing your hands, and still about keeping that safe distance of 6 feet. So please follow those guidelines. A recent announcement just today in the paper is about schools. It's been about a year, roughly, since the emergency was declared, and a lot of kids have not been able to be in schools, especially in urban centers. But I stayed in pretty close contact with Superintendent David James, and the governor regarding Akron Public Schools and their reopening plans. Would have loved to have them to be able to get to March 1st, and they announced that they're a plan for March 15th and then the ensuing week, what after. But I think they worked very hard to get to that. There is a lot of logistics to be able to handle when it comes to transportation and classrooms. So I applaud their efforts to be able to do that. And he's moving the timetable up just 1 week. So students in kindergarten through second grade and those with significant disabilities will return March 8th, and everyone else will be returning March 15th. And an online only option will still be offered, which is important because I know there's still some concern among parents about whether they want to have kids in schools, but I applaud the school board and Superintendent David James in their efforts to be able to reach a good solution. And now we can move forward with getting kids back in schools. I know mayors across the state as a lot of people were concerned about kids being out so long, but we'll work through the issues that come up, on May 8th March 8th and March 15th. There's a lot of smart people working on these issues. And so the education of our children obviously is a high and a very top priority for us as a community. So I applaud them to work through those efforts and move up that timeline for a week. So we are also winding up on Black History Month. And if you've been following along on our social media pages, you've all seen that we've been posting every single day about our own history here in Akron and some of the Black Akronites, both past and present, who made an impact on our city. We've also been highlighting Black-owned businesses, and I've been lucky enough to visit several of these business owners and to do interviews with them about their experience here in Akron. And we'll continue to do these video highlights and interviews throughout the year for local businesses here in Akron. And kind of the one thing that I have learned is that I think we continue to have to ask ourselves as a city, as a government, what can we do to help small businesses, and what's our role in that? And I think it's a very pointed question. Sometimes it seems like it's a little rhetorical because it's not an easy question to ask. And when you ask that one question, just tell me what you want. How can the city help you be successful? Obviously, it's more customers, and I think that drives a lot of that. But there are other things that I think we can do. We don't ever want to be in the way as far as whether it's come to regulations or something that we're doing. So working in tandem with our small business and our business community, and especially our minority business owners, who are literally taking that risk. If you know the literal definition of entrepreneur is the risk taker. And so we should help them mitigate that risk at some point. So we want to be a partner with small businesses and businesses throughout the city of Akron. So they've been highlighting for me to be able to meet with some of these small business owners and listen to some of the issues that they have. And we'll continue to try to tailor programs to be able to help meet their needs. So, but if you own a business or would like to nominate a business to be highlighted, please let us know. Shoot us a message or send us an email at mayor@akronohio.gov. And I'll repeat that, it's mayor@akronohio.gov. And some also, I'd like to take a moment to talk about First Energy and their impact here on our community. If you've read at least the public statement that we've had out there, they are an absolute essential driver, economic driver for our city, and not only in our state and our region. The utility, they've been headquartered here in Akron for more than 100 years. Currently supports more than 2,000 local employees. In 2019, they re-upped their lease to a 10-year extension, which keeps them downtown through June of 2035. Their presence means about $3 to $4 million in annual city income tax revenue, making this homegrown utility a critical part of Akron's growth and revitalization, not only to downtown, but to the rest of the city and to the county and to the region. So they're also a very committed corporate citizen and key participants in a lot of the philanthropy around the city of Akron and in the region. So they have a great positive impact on our economy. It can't be denied, but let's not forget the fact that these are a lot of people that we grew up with, that tend the lines, that work in the call centers, that work in their law departments, investor relations throughout the company. These are people that we know, and they're a well-run company that needs to be headquartered down here. I know there's been some recent news about some investors. I've said this even the other day, I'm certainly willing to meet with Mr. Icahn or his team. In fact, I'll make that offer even publicly. I'd like to gauge their intentions with the company. Obviously, it's a global marketplace, but that critical infrastructure that we have in Ohio, that I think we do a very good job at throughout the state in providing electricity and water and sewer and all those services, they take investment. And they take, I think it's a key part of that is you have a local homegrown company that's a Fortune 500 company. And I've said this to state legislatures. I said this to state regulating boards. I've said this to 2 governors that, especially in Northeast Ohio, but even Ohio, we can't afford to play economic chicken with our Fortune 500 companies. And so gauging the intent of whoever new investors are, I'd certainly like to get a better idea about what their intentions are and do everything we can to be able to help that company grow and provide that critical infrastructure, because the lights still need to go on. And we want to make sure that they are headquartered right here in Akron. So thanks for listening to that part of it. I appreciate it. Obviously, many of you know that their importance to not only downtown, but across the region, especially Northeast Ohio. So we had a fairly significant snow and ice event the last couple of weeks. And I personally went down to the snow center on President's Day at night and talked to some of the drivers and talked to the dispatchers about how they were doing things. And if you remember, I think they did an excellent job in clearing the streets and making sure that people can get around. We've gotten a lot of compliments on the plowing. Obviously, nothing is ever perfect. And if you remember back in 2019, we released a new snow and ice plan for the city. We reconfigured our routes to make sure that first and second priority streets were better managed during the snow event. We made significant improvements and this is investing in people and equipment and technology, in logistics and training. And I think last week we really saw the impact of those upgrades and those improvements. We saw our residents really utilize the 311 Action Center, which is great. We can't make good decisions unless we have information. Like I said, I don't think anything is ever perfect, but I think they did an excellent job of getting the streets clear and then moving into neighborhoods to keep them clear too. Obviously, we were the benefit of some warmer weather just in the last couple of days, which significantly helps. But it is Northeast Ohio. It does snow. We do get those events, but we had a dedicated team of 50-some plus drivers and mechanics and technicians and dispatchers out there working around the clock, sometimes 16-hour shifts to be able to do that. That's a significant event. It puts wear and tear on resources, puts wear and tear on trucks. You have to be able to get them back out on the road, but we made that investment not only into the technology, into the training, into the people, and I was extremely pleased in the response, and then being able to clear the streets so we can get back around again in a safe way. So we literally have 10 trucks solely dedicated to responding to those 311 service requests, which is huge for residential streets. You want to be able to get to the intersection and be able to get to the main road. Like I said, we have to keep those priority streets clean. And then as we work back into the neighborhoods, I thought they did an excellent job. Like I said, there's always room for improvement. It's not going to be perfect, but our crews did a yeoman's work. And I thank them. I thank the crews, and I thank the drivers, and I thank everybody involved in the city for their diligence in keeping our streets clean and safe. So we will move into some questions, and I'll let Steph ask them. And Steph, if you want to start, go ahead.
Our first question is from Bryn, and she asks, why was the homeless encampment at Grace Park evicted?
Well, first, even going back to a year ago, during when the emergency was first declared, and there was a global pandemic that was realized across the country, we stopped. We refrained from dispersing homeless encampments in order to help prevent, number one, community spread of the virus within our homeless population. City personnel have not dispersed any camps in the last year, but it did come to our attention that CSX railroad security personnel, in the interest of safety, have dispersed a camp that was on private CSX property. And the encampment was dangerously close to the active train tracks. And unfortunately, 3 people have been hit by trains in that area within the last 2 years. We're working with CSS, which is Community Support Services, to get those people the help that they need, if they're willing to do so. But they had to disperse that camp, CSX did, because it was so close to the train tracks. And there is a legitimate safety concern when it comes to that when you have an active train track. So. Next one.
Jake asks, I saw that the Rubber Ducks announced their schedule for the summer season. Are they definitely going to have a full season this year? And do we know if people will be allowed in the stands?
Okay, a 2-part question. First one, are they definitely going to have a full season this year? I certainly hope so. I think the start date has been actually pushed to May 4th. As you work with Major League Baseball, whether they're going to have that number of games, because they've got to end up before those playoffs start with the major leagues. And then they have different assignments as they go from there. I don't know all the intricacies of that part of it too. Hopefully they will have a full season. And yes, we're working with, our public health partners in being able to have people in the stands. I don't know what the capacity issue is going to be. We are still working very closely with the Rubber Ducks and Ken Babby, and actually we have a meeting in a couple of hours to talk about some of those things. But like I said, short answer to a 2-part question. Yes, hopefully they're going to have a full season, and yes, stands will be allowed, or fans will be allowed in the stands. Try rolling that one, and hopefully it'll be a full amount. But we'll have to work through those safety protocols first. But good question.
Our next question comes from Jeff, and he asked, when will the new water meters be installed?
Actually, we're going through this the last couple of weeks about when's the best time to start this installation. We're not going to start them until the fall 2021, fall of this year, roughly September, October, hopefully the September part. And we'll be putting out plenty of information before that happens, and notices will be sent out to each resident before that happens in order for them to schedule the installation themselves. There's still a lot of work going on in the planning process. So we'll announce more on the water meters, the new water meters, in the coming months. And it's a process that will take probably at least 2 years to be able to finish, but we'll start that hopefully 4th quarter or just a little bit before 4th quarter of 2021.
Okay. Sarah asks, will Lock 3 have any programming this summer, like concerts or festivals?
That is certainly the hope, and we are making planning and endeavors to that end. How many people will be allowed down there, don't know that yet, but we are certainly planning to have those. And it all is conditioned about, where the number of infections are and the number of vaccines and all of those different things that we're trying to factor into. You'll still more than likely, and I'm speculating at this point, and I don't like to do that. There probably will still be some restrictions regarding how many people we're allowed to attend events. And I don't have the real specifics about who may be there and what type of festivals. We're planning that way and hope to be able to announce something. We'll announce it as soon as we finalize the schedule and we get some health protocols to be able to do that. But that is the goal, to be able to have events down at Lock 3 this year, both festivals and concerts. So good question.
Marcus asks, I heard about Akron celebrating Dick Goddard Day. What is that?
Yeah, in September, if you remember, Akron City Council passed legislation for an annual Dick Goddard Day here in the city of Akron. And so it's a way to honor Mr. Goddard, who was born right here in Akron and became obviously a legendary Cleveland meteorologist and an animal rights activist. And you can actually help participate in a couple of ways. People are encouraged to post a picture of themselves with their pets on social media tomorrow using the hashtag let's try this again. Using the hashtag @Dick Goddard Day. to honor the work he did for animals over the years. And we're also encouraging those looking to add a pet to their family to consider adopting from a local pet adoption agency. And as Mr. Goddard encouraged, have their pets spayed or neutered. And tomorrow would have been Mr. Goddard's 90th birthday, which is why we selected that day to do Dick Goddard Day. So a couple of ways that you can help celebrate Dick Goddard Day, and we'll post those, and it's at Dick Goddard Day to take a picture with you and your pet to be able to do that too. So good question.
Eric asks, I noticed that Goodyear had acquired Cooper Tire. What does that mean for Akron?
Oh, in short, I think it makes a great company even better. And we're not going to get into the intricacies of brands and tires, but Cooper obviously makes an excellent tire. Goodyear being one of the top, I think personally, the top tire in the world. But this acquiring them, obviously there's a lot of things to go on when it comes to, there's integration teams, there's still the approval process to be able to do that. But this deal obviously makes Goodyear stronger financially by immediately adding to the earnings and the ability for earnings. This is great for our city in as much as it is for Goodyear. Obviously, they're our world headquarters. When you look up in the sky, and you can be anywhere in the world, you can see the blimp and you see that famed wing foot, you think of Goodyear. And when you think of Goodyear, I've said this before, you think of Akron. And so they're an iconic brand worldwide. You notice them. It's very important that their world headquarters is right here, right near the East End. And they've been headquartered here for their lifetime. And so we appreciate them doing all that they can to be able to help their company even stronger. And I've said this when I talked about Black History Month and visiting the small businesses. It's equally as important to talk to our larger businesses that employ a lot of people and continue to ask that question: how are we as a city helping you grow your business, and what makes you a better business because of that? We don't ever want to be in the way of that. And so we stay in close contact with business community leaders to be able to, I think, put together programs to be able to help, solidify their business. So I congratulate them on their acquisition. I look forward to working with Mr. Kramer and the team to be able to help them continue to grow and keep Goodyear strong. So that will wrap it up for today. I appreciate all of you tuning in. Remember to stay safe. I would encourage you to get the vaccine. If you have questions about that, please contact Public Health. If there's any trepidation or apprehension about taking the vaccine, make sure you wear your mask, make sure you stay safe, make sure you social distance, and wash your hands. Have a great week. Stay safe, Akron.